Tonight, outrage at Air Canada after a mother had to fight for a refund in the wake of her young daughter's death.
Unfortunately, I never got to tell her about that.
The surprise trip she never got to make, and why experts say the airline needs to do much better.
It's not a bereavement policy, not generally based upon compassion.
How Air Canada responded after CBC's Go Public investigation. Plus, as Washington and Iran trade more peace proposals, Donald Trump announces a new operation to free ships stranded in the Strait of Hormuz.
He's not engaged in a popularity contest when it comes to what we're doing in Iran.
Why some say the damage is already done. And breaking tonight, the Montreal Canadiens advancing to the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs.
And that is blocked away. Loose puck, safe score!
Their thrilling Game 7 win.
From CBC News, this is The National with Erica Johnson.
Thanks for joining us. Ian is away. Tonight we begin with one mother's frustrating fight with a major airline in the wake of her daughter's sudden death. Passenger rights are a hot-button issue given the backlog of more than 95,000 complaints. On Friday, we told you about the federal government's promise to clear that backlog and to substantially raise the maximum penalty to $1 million for airlines that repeatedly break the rules. Tonight, we put a human face on what happens when an airline's own rules fail. A grief-stricken mother who never got to reveal a surprise gift to her daughter. Rosa Marcatelli has our Go Public investigation.
It was supposed to be a surprise trip for 10-year-old Lucy Monroe. Her mom, Becky Cable Monroe, booked flights in a hotel from Nova Scotia to Toronto to see Lucy's favorite pop star, Sabrina Carpenter.
She would have been extremely, extremely happy.
But sadly, Lucy never found out. She died in a boating accident about a month before the trip.
I was going to tell her, and I kept that a big secret, and unfortunately, I never got to tell her about that.
As Cable Monroe grieved, a friend stepped in to cancel the trip. Booked through Expedia, the website quickly refunded the hotel and part of the flights, saying the remaining $700 would be covered under Air Canada's bereavement policy. But only half came back from the airline. It refunded Lucy's ticket, not her mother's. Cable Monroe says the airline ignored requests for an explanation.
She says she considered giving up, saying it wasn't about the money. She just wanted an explanation. She didn't get one until Go Public got involved.
Air Canada says she should have received a full refund, acknowledging its policy was not correctly applied immediately. Experts say this case shows a bigger policy problem.
We'll call it a bereavement policy. It's not a bereavement policy. It's functional and it's minimal, not generally based upon compassion.
Air Canada says its employees are trained to be empathetic, saying what happened to Cable Monroe was due to a mix of factors, including issues accessing Expedia's booking number and problems with the online refund requests. After Go Public reached out, Air Canada refunded Cable Monroe. She says she's lost faith in the airline. Rosa Marcatelli, CBC News, Calgary.
Our Go Public stories come from you. If you have a tip for the team to investigate, send an email to gopublic@cbc.ca. Tonight, Donald Trump says the U.S. will soon start guiding ships out of the Strait of Hormuz that have been stuck there because of the ongoing conflict with Iran. As Katie Simpson explains, that comes as the U.S. and Iran continue talks aimed at ending the war.
U.S. forces in the Middle East are about to take on a new role, escorting some of the ships that have been trapped in the Strait of Hormuz out of the region, according to the U.S. president. On social media, Donald Trump wrote, "Project Freedom will begin Monday morning Middle East time, saying it is meant to free up people, companies, and countries that have done absolutely nothing wrong, neutral and innocent bystanders. Warning, if in any way this humanitarian process is interfered with, that interference will, unfortunately, have to be dealt with forcefully." It's unclear if Iran accepts this plan or whether it views this as a provocative action. And it comes as both countries exchange high-level proposals to end the war.
They told me about the concept of the deal. They're going to give me the exact wording now, yeah.
Within hours, the Trump administration sent back a response. On Iranian state TV, a spokesman for the foreign ministry confirmed it was received through intermediaries in Pakistan and is now under review. Since the war began, gas prices in the U.S. have nearly doubled, and there are new warnings that interest rates may also go up.
There's so much uncertainty about the outlook in the Middle East right now. I don't feel comfortable signaling that a rate cut is in the cards. You know, we might, in worse scenarios, we might have to go the other direction.
Trump finds himself under growing pressure to lower the cost of living before the midterm elections this fall, while also fending off new allegations. He's ignoring the law by refusing to seek congressional approval to carry on with this war.
He's acting within his duty to the American people to keep us safe. He's not engaged in a popularity contest when it comes to what we're doing in Iran.
Trump offered few specifics about how his plan to free trapped ships is supposed to work. Remember, Iran has been imposing a blockade of the Strait of Hormuz with its military, and Trump's move could be viewed by the regime as a violation of the ceasefire.
And Katie, this is playing out as both sides are downplaying hope for a diplomatic breakthrough.
Yeah, the U.S. and Iran spent the weekend exchanging threats. Trump won't rule out resuming military strikes, and Iran says the Strait of Hormuz will never go back to what it was before the war. While no in-person peace talks are planned, this recent exchange of proposals means they're at least talking.
Okay, thanks, Katie. Katie Simpson in Washington tonight. 3 people are dead and at least 3 others are sick, according to the World Health Organization, after a suspected hantavirus outbreak on a cruise ship in the Atlantic Ocean. Hantavirus is spread by contact with urine or feces of infected rodents and can lead to severe respiratory illness. There is no specific treatment or cure. One person is in intensive care in South Africa. The Prime Minister is in Armenia tonight to attend the summit of the European political community, a first for any Canadian leader. Rafi Boudjikanian shows us why leaders are looking to Mark Carney to help build bridges.
It's a lovely, I've seen the pictures, but it's even more beautiful in person.
Mark Carney greeted by his Armenian counterpart on the eve of a summit all about Europe.
Thank you and your government for the invitation to come to what is a very important European political community meeting.
Armenia is not part of the European Union, but on Russia's doorstep it faces some of the same tensions, attempting a Western pivot away from Moscow's influence, while also looking to make peace with a neighbor, Azerbaijan, after they fought a war Armenia lost over the long-disputed territory of Nagorno-Karabakh. Part of Azerbaijan under international law, but with a majority ethnic Armenian population until the end of the conflict in 2023 saw its residents forced to flee to Armenia.
Essentially, the region has been ethnically cleansed of the Armenian population, which had been there for centuries. And we're seeing now destruction of Armenian cultural sites. Azerbaijan continues to hold an unknown number of prisoners of war and hostages.
But Canada is facing its own pressures. Expectations built up over Carney's landmark speech in Davos calling on middle powers to band together in the face of global hegemons, now higher as the U.S. announces a drawdown of its troops at a German NATO base.
We've had lots of pronouncements, but showing that Canada is genuinely committed to mutual benefit in that bilateral relationship that goes beyond sort of transactional little contracts or so, I think the jury's still out.
Prime Minister Carney did see a couple of European leaders on Sunday, but Monday is when he really revs up the one-on-ones, meetings scheduled with his Italian and Spanish counterparts, as well as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Rafi Boudjikanian, CBC News, Yerevan, Armenia.
Prime Minister Carney isn't ready to commit to a new cross-border pipeline, even as President Trump clears the path for one from Alberta to U.S. refineries. As JP Tasker explains, Ottawa is eyeing other markets as it decides how to play its hand.
U.S. President Donald Trump wants more Canadian oil as gas prices in the U.S. surge.
It's a huge deal in terms of long-term energy dominance.
Signing an executive order paving the way for a new pipeline to funnel Alberta crude to American refineries.
Slightly different than the last administration. Very different. They wouldn't sign a pipeline deal, and we have pipelines going up.
The Bridger project would carry some 550,000 barrels of oil a day over the border to points further south, reviving parts of the scrap Keystone XL pipeline. While not outright opposed, Prime Minister Mark Carney says he's leery of becoming more dependent on the U.S. market.
Should we be further integrating our energy markets with the United States at a time they view that as, quote, leverage?
And the Prime Minister's been clear. We need to more than double our exports to the non-U.S. countries.
After decades of selling oil to the U.S. at a discount, Carney's energy minister says what Ottawa really wants is more export capacity to Asia, so Canadian oil and gas can command much higher prices.
We trade almost all of our natural gas and oil with the United States. We think it's in our interest to diversify that.
Canadian energy could be a bargaining chip to force Trump's hand on a trade deal. Carney should play it cool on a new cross-border pipeline, says his former top diplomat.
We have to be careful that we keep doubling down on a captive market.
But this expert says a new pipeline to the BC coast is nowhere close to being operational. Trump is dangling the possibility of moving Canadian product quickly and cheaply, and she expects the industry will jump at the chance.
We have an opportunity to be an energy superpower, but instead we're choosing to be an energy colony of the United States again.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, meanwhile, wants to sell more energy to the Americans.
Let's be clear, we're never going to cut our American allies off of our energy.
The Trump administration is warning Canada against using energy as leverage in the CUSMA review. But with the president's tariffs pummeling Canadian steel, autos, and lumber, that's exactly what the government is preparing to do.
Okay, then how could Canada leverage its energy in these talks, JP?
Well, Trump says he doesn't need anything from Canada, but that's not true of refineries in the States. They consume more than 4 million barrels of our oil every day. If Canada moves more of it to Asia, that could drive up prices and constrain supply stateside. Trading a new pipeline for tariff relief, that's all part of the discussion. Erica?
Thanks for this, JP. That's JP Tasker reporting tonight from Ottawa. And breaking tonight, Montreal is celebrating. The Canadiens have just won a do-or-die Game 7, moving on to the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's one of two major games happening tonight. We'll get to the Raptors in a few minutes, but first, let's relive that winning moment.
It's blocked, it's locked out, and Montreal is bound for the second round.
The Canadiens beat the Tampa Bay Lightning in Florida 2-1. It was a hard-fought series, and this is exactly the ending fans here in Canada were looking for. Bobina Oduro is at the Bell Centre tonight, home of the Canadiens, where thousands of fans piled in to watch the game on the big screen. Bobina, how's the atmosphere in there tonight?
The atmosphere was amazing. Fans were unbelievable. They were cheering really loud. They are still cheering right now. The party has not stopped in Montreal. When Montreal scored a goal, everyone got off their seats. They were waving their towels. Every time Montreal had a chance to score, there was oohs, there was ahs, and people are just very excited that there's more playoff hockey coming to Montreal. And this was pretty significant as well, because this is the first time that the Montreal Canadiens as an organization opened up the Bell Centre to have fans inside watching while they were away in Tampa. And I asked fans what it means to them to be a Montreal Canadiens fan, and here's what they had to say.
It's part of our culture, you know. It's in my blood. I'm a Canadian fan in my blood. It's so important.
Oh, it's my whole life. I've been a fan since I was a kid. They mean so much to me.
It means everything. I've been a Montreal Canadiens fan ever since I can remember, essentially. It means everything.
It's being the best fan of the best team ever.
So a lot of fans are really excited, and I don't know if it's just because they're excited, but they're telling me that they believe Montreal will be going all the way. A lot of them are saying that Tampa Bay is the hardest team that they would have to face, and now that they are going to be facing Buffalo, things get a little easier, but I wouldn't get ahead of ourselves with that kind of sentiment, but Habs fans are just very excited, and the party is not stopping in Montreal for a while because there is more playoff hockey here, Erica.
Just a little positive thinking, nothing wrong with that. So what comes next for the Canadiens, Kwabena?
So the Montreal Canadiens are going to be going to Buffalo. They will be playing a game on Wednesday there. That's when round 2 starts, and fans here are hoping that they will do the same thing they did in this round. Win.
All right, thanks for this.
Erica?
Kwabena Oduro in Montreal. It was Game 7 Sunday for Canada's only NBA team, too, but the result, not what fans wanted.
And the Raptors, after taking Game 6 at home, they fall in Game 7.
The Cleveland Cavaliers beat the Toronto Raptors 114-102, ending the Raps' playoff run in the first round. Greg Ross is in Cleveland, Ohio, outside Rocket Arena. Greg, what is the mood like there?
Well, I'll tell you what, for Cleveland Cavaliers fans, we saw them coming out of Rocket Arena here. They were celebrating. They were happy. Their team has won this series. But there were about, I would say, more than 1,000 Raptors fans who made the trip down, most of them coming from Southern Ontario. A few of them have stopped by to talk to us here. Obviously, this was a difficult night. But it started okay. I mean, the Raptors looked very good in the first half. They did not trail once in the first half of this game. And on 2 different occasions, they led by as many as 10 points. But they couldn't hold off that veteran Cleveland Cavalier lineup. And it was all Cavs in the second half. They would go on to win by a final of 114-102. They led by as much as 22 at one point. How are you feeling coming out of this one? You drove all the way down here, and you had to watch your Raptors lose.
Not great, not great. I mean, you know, we're kind of used to this. Every year it happens, you know, whether it's the Leafs or the Raptors or the Jays, it's always, you know, the same result. We always come short, but it was a fun ride. The season was great from start to finish. You know, we didn't really expect to be here at the beginning of the season, and the boys came in the playoffs, and they did a great job, so I'm proud.
All right, they're proud, happy. A lot of these fans who drove down here today, like this family right here, father and 2 sons, drove down today, and you're driving back tonight. It's going to be a long drive home.
Got an early start tomorrow morning, but grateful for this experience to have with my boys, and not the results we were looking for, but memories that will last a lifetime, and hopefully next year, different results, but happy for the experience.
Raptors push it to 7 games, but they are not able to close out the series, but they are a young team, and I think all of these fans here would agree that the future looks promising for the Toronto Raptors.
Let's go, Raptors! All right, thanks for that, Greg. That's Greg Ross in Cleveland.
Let's go, Raptors!
Preparations are underway in BC and Alberta as wildfire season begins.
You always have to be prepared. You know, as soon as the snow's gone, as it turns out this year.
A look at conditions as flames spread. A story of Indigenous struggles hits the stage in Mexico.
Rosa is a piece that I create to honor the spirit of my grandmother.
The Canadian team shares the message behind its production. And later, a sweet record shattered with the world's longest tiramisu. We're back in 2. It's been 10 years since a devastating wildfire tore through Fort McMurray and the start of what was a month-long evacuation for more than 88,000 residents. It was the costliest disaster in Canadian history, causing close to $10 billion in damage overall, while destroying more than 2,500 homes. As Fort McMurray marks a difficult anniversary, a new wildfire season is already underway in Western Canada. As Caroline Bargout shows us, some communities in Alberta and BC are already on alert.
The flames were higher than some of the trees. A house fire in a summer village about 50 kilometers northwest of Edmonton appears to have triggered a wildfire, destroying 1 home and 2 cottages. A 4th house was damaged but is still standing.
It's very flammable out there. There's lots of fuel out there for any kind of fire to take off, and it just happened yesterday with a warm slight breeze, it didn't take much to set that fire off.
The Alberta community was under a state of emergency until late Sunday afternoon. The roughly 300 residents were ready to evacuate at a moment's notice.
It's very concerning because we have so many animals, about 50 animals total on the property. So to get everybody rounded up and get them out of here safely, it's a big job.
Tiffany Fortin says her evacuation plan includes tagging her animals, and every wildfire season is a scare. Village officials say this may seem early for the start of it, but it isn't.
I've seen fires as early as the beginning of April. I've also seen nice and wet right through to the May long weekend. So you can't really judge, You always have to be prepared, as soon as the snow's gone, as it turns out this year.
Western Canada is expecting warmer than normal temperatures this summer. As of Sunday afternoon, in Alberta, there were 8 active wildfires, 2 out of control. In British Columbia, about 24 fires were burning, 4 of them considered out of control. BC Wildfire says it's too soon to know if it'll be a bad year.
The past couple of springs, we've certainly seen these drought values or dryness, but what is the biggest factor really is the rain that we get in May and June. And if we don't get any rain, then we're certainly going to be prepared for potentially kind of worse conditions and a worse fire season.
In Sandy Beach, the winds that were expected haven't materialized, allowing crews to keep the fire under control, standing by in case it rekindles. Caroline Bargout, CBC News, Vancouver.
The sudden demise of Spirit Airlines has many thousands of travelers scrambling to change plans. The U.S. low-cost carrier shut down on Saturday as it failed to survive its second bankruptcy in 2 years. 17,000 workers, full-time and part-time, are now out of work. Aviation experts say the impact on the industry may be limited, as Spirit had shrunk in size during its financial decline. But other airlines may find it easier to increase fares. An Indigenous theatre company from Canada is sharing its story in Mexico. The inspiration behind their production. Mark Carney is promising a sovereign wealth fund to give Canadians a stake in big projects.
This is not a sovereign wealth fund.
It doesn't seem to be a traditional sovereign fund.
I think it's unfortunate that the government chose that name.
So, does it live up to its name? Andrew Chang breaks that down for us. A high-flying recovery mission in South Africa where this brave police officer was lowered into a crocodile-infested river to retrieve a 500-kilogram reptile suspected of eating a missing businessman. Human remains were found inside the croc. Police are now waiting for DNA testing to confirm they belong to the man they were searching for. A dance performance produced by an Indigenous theatre company in Canada has landed in Mexico City. Rosa examines an Indigenous woman's journey to escape violence and build a better future. Jorge Barrera takes us to the stage.
A story of survival flows across the stage on opening night in Mexico City for Carlos Rivera Martinez's dance production, Rosa.
Rosa is a piece that I create to honor the spirit of my grandmother, Rosa Islas Lopez. She passed away almost 10 years ago.
This is the first time Rivera Martinez, a Mexican Canadian and co-artistic director of Montreal's Indigenous Odanak Theatre Company, is showing this piece in Mexico, which birthed this story.
He suffered lots of violence from my grandfather and from the family, the in-law family.
So Rosa, who is from a Nahuatl Indigenous community and spoke no Spanish, fled with her 5 children to Mexico City.
Estas representan
Rivera Martinez's father, 88-year-old Justino Rivera Islas, says the mountains made of straw on stage represent the part of the Mexican state of Puebla, which his mother crossed with Rivera Islas and his 4 siblings in tow. This production is based on Rivera Islas' memory and stars his niece, Patricia Rivera Maldonado, as Rosa in all her forms.
Rosa es mujer, pero es
Rosa is woman, but also spirit, animal, tree, ancestor, earth, she says. Rivera Maldonado grew up around her grandmother, but is now discovering her anew.
Sí la habito.
I merge with her, I commune with her, I let her take me, she says. Rivera Martinez says the struggles that unite Indigenous people in Canada and Mexico are embodied in Rosa's story.
Many Indigenous women face the same reality that my grandmother faced long time ago.
Rosa will travel to Regina's Globe Theater May 3rd and 4th. Jorge Barrera, CBC News, Mexico City.
Now it's time to break down the stories shaping our world. Warmer weather, rapid snowmelt in northern Ontario raises the risk of flooding. But what does it mean for this fire season after 3 record-setting years?
This flooding might mean at least a slower start to the fire season.
We'll look at why the wildfire threat lingers despite all the water. But first,
we will begin with an initial endowment of $25 billion.
The Carney government calls its latest policy to bolster national projects a sovereign wealth fund. But is it?
It is not a sovereign wealth fund in the traditional sense of a sovereign wealth fund.
So if it's not, what exactly is it? Andrew Chang, host of About That, breaks down what we know so far about it and how it might really work.
So look, the government can call this almost whatever it wants.
A new pillar of our plan, the Canada Strong Fund.
Just don't call it a
Sovereign Wealth Fund.
Okay, but I'm just wondering, where's the wealth and who's funding it? The way sovereign wealth funds traditionally work is you start with a giant government piggy bank. And not only do you stuff it full of coins and cash and oil profits, you also plug it right into the stock market. You invest that money, rather than just finding new and imaginative ways to spend that money, as governments often do. This, the Canadian government is fully aware, is how Norway does it.
Many countries that are blessed with natural resources, like Norway, have sovereign wealth funds. Canada hasn't had one until now.
And I totally get why Mark Carney would want to put these two things side by side. Success by association. Look how rich we could get. In Norway's case, from very humble beginnings, an initial investment equal to about $23 billion US.
We will begin with an initial endowment of $25 billion.
So far, so good. And fast forward a little over 25 years. Today, Norway's fund is the biggest in the world. At last count, worth 21 trillion kroner, or about 2 trillion US. And you see this blue section right here? That's the coolest part, the part that's plugged into the stock market. The blue part of each bar is how much money Norway's money made through long-term investing. Compounding returns, baby. Except, settle down, because I'm going to show you all the ways in which Canada's sovereign wealth fund is not like Norway's. This is not a sovereign wealth fund.
It doesn't seem to be a traditional sovereign fund.
I think it's unfortunate that the government chose that name.
So you know how I said at the start, sovereign wealth funds are like the piggy bank plugged into the stock market. Well, the Canadian version has neither of these features. Let's start with the piggy bank.
Almost all the sovereign wealth funds that I'm aware of are owned by countries that produce a ton of oil. They derive a great deal of income from resource extraction.
Norway's a really good example of this. And just to warn you, they're going to come up a lot in this discussion. Its people have one of the highest per capita incomes in the world. That's driven by huge oil and gas profits. They make a killing. At least a fifth of their economy is oil and gas. And it's what allows them to actually run annual budget surpluses most years. So the mechanics of a sovereign wealth fund are pretty straightforward for Norway. Have extra money, invest extra money. But in Canada's case,
the government's deficit ballooned to close to $62 billion the last fiscal year.
A deficit of $68.5 billion.
This year, it rings in at $78.3 billion.
One think tank pegs the running Canadian debt at just over $1.4 trillion. The cost to service that debt, north of $50 billion per year, making it one of the single most expensive line items in the entire Canadian government annual budget. And that's forecast to go up to $80 billion by 2030. And how much deeper are we digging this hole each year? The Canadian deficit for this past fiscal? Almost $70 billion. So, not to make anyone feel bad, but this country isn't exactly flush with cash. It consistently spends more than it makes, and it's borrowing money to make ends meet every day.
Carney has no surplus and therefore no wealth to put in such a fund. He's talking about a sovereign debt fund.
The problem is that essentially we've had deficits year after year, and the debt is growing. And that debt is very costly for Canadians right now and in the future.
When we're taking government budget deficits and investing those deficits in these projects, we shouldn't expect that that's going to generate, a strong financial return for the Canadian taxpayer. It's probably not.
But maybe none of this is so unusual because, newsflash, governments spend borrowed money all the time. How's this any different? Well, let's examine what this money's being spent on. Back to Piggy and what he's plugged into. However you get the money you're stuffing in there, what's it doing? Here's what Norway does with its money. They invest it around the world, most heavily in the United States, parts of Europe, Japan, but all over really. Because if your goal is to maximize your return and make money, then diversifying in this way makes sense. And they've done fairly well with that strategy, notching a bland but productive 6.6% average annual return since the fund started in 1998. Canada's plan is to have no such diversification strategy. All of the fund is meant to support Canadian projects.
The fund will invest in key strategic Canadian projects and companies. It's going to be creating jobs. It's going to support innovation. It's going to make Canada more competitive.
It is not a sovereign wealth fund in the traditional sense of a sovereign wealth fund. This is an equity fund, and investors, both government and the private side, take risk.
Right. This is really, at its core, a way to create a kind of public-private partnership.
Now, to be clear, just like with the construction of the Canadian Pacific Railway 150 years ago, Canada's major projects will mostly be built by private companies. And just as in the 1870s, the federal government will support these projects through loans, grants, and other incentives.
So let's say the government decides to build a bridge, a mine, a pipeline, a farm, a data center. We don't really know because the government hasn't worked out how the fund will work just yet. But basically the idea would be to say to the private sector, invest in our sovereign wealth fund, help us build these types of things you might otherwise have been too afraid to build because maybe you thought they were too risky. And with $25 billion of government seed money backstopping and de-risking the whole thing, along with whatever perks and financial frameworks we can give you, we promise you'll get paid. And that should give the project a bigger likelihood of succeeding, which means we all get paid.
The Prime Minister is seeking to get investment from large asset managers that are able to make investments in, I think, large, discrete, illiquid investments that have very long time frames for payoffs.
Now, there are all kinds of interesting questions we can ask at this point. One of them from the opposition leader.
If a project has a business case, why would the government need to fund it?
I think that's a fair question. And of course, the answer is almost certainly going to depend on the project and whether the government can spot golden opportunities where the private sector could not or would not go it alone. But another question, don't public-private partnerships already exist?
Can you help us understand how this is going to be in its goals different from the Canada Infrastructure Bank that was launched under the previous government, and why you need an entirely new agency to do what you're doing?
Yeah, well, thank you for the question because it's a crucial one.
Now, I'm not one to rely on Wikipedia for research, but I just think it's funny how the most elemental definition you can find out there of what this program called the Canada Infrastructure Bank does is that it is tasked with financially supporting revenue-generating infrastructure projects that are in the public interest by catalyzing private investment through methods such as direct investment and public-private partnerships. Isn't that how we just described Canada's brand new sovereign wealth fund? Carney says the difference with the wealth fund will be in having an equity stake in the projects that get greenlit. That, in theory, should lead to great wealth down the road, unless it doesn't.
In case a project goes south and fails and doesn't generate returns, the Canadian taxpayer is, in a sense, going to be left holding the bag on any of these investments that, in fact, don't work out.
Who underwrites that? Is it the fund? Is it the government? Or will households make a loss? That's going to be politically costly.
And let me just spoil the ending here for you. The track record of the Canada Infrastructure Bank is often debated. Just 5 years after it was founded, the House of Commons Transport Committee recommended that the bank be abolished. Projects got built, but they tended to be more expensive. And there were all kinds of questions about whether the projects that were ultimately selected to be built were the right ones. Were they truly in the Canadian interest, or were they just the ones that made the private sector the most money?
Many of the investments that the first Canada Infrastructure Bank made, I think, were widely perceived as being made largely on the basis of politics, rather than on the economic or financial viability of those projects. The way in which this fund is run, it needs to, I think, inspire confidence among economists and investors that the funds are going to be allocated towards projects in a way that makes financial and economic sense.
Now, in any responsible telling of this story, you should expect to hear the words, "the devil is in the details," an awful lot. That's because the government doesn't know how a lot of this will work yet. It says it still has a lot of studying and consulting and decision-making to do. But I think it's very reasonable to ask, what is the actual mandate of this fund? Is it nation building?
The Canada Strong Fund is about solidarity amongst Canadians, no matter where they live.
Or is it about creating and maybe even hoarding wealth?
It's essentially a national savings and investment account. It's designed to grow wealth for future generations of Canadians.
Because on that point of let's all get rich together, one important thing I haven't mentioned at all yet is what the government says makes this sovereign wealth fund so unique.
For those Canadians who want to participate in an even more direct way, we will make it easy for individual Canadians to invest in the fund and therefore own a small piece of nation-building projects and share in their returns.
Now, almost every expert I've heard from on this story has expressed a lot of skepticism about what this retail investor arm of the fund is going to look like. Because, as a baseline, investing in Canada is fine, but it's not really how you make the most money. Even the biggest institutional investors in this country know you only get so far buying Canadian. The Ontario Teachers' Pension Plan, with almost $300 billion in assets, it invests in the US more than it does in Canada. Canadian assets, less than a third of its overall portfolio. So what kind of returns should a retail investor like you or me expect from a fund that is entirely Canadian, investing in projects risky enough to require a partnership to fund to begin with, and mind you, whose mandate seems torn between two goals, nation building and wealth building, that may not overlap?
Generating strong financial returns for future generations of Canadians and investing in major infrastructure projects that are in the national interest but have nevertheless not received private sector backing, those two goals do not go hand in hand. In fact, I think they're more or less diametrically opposed.
And let me just say one other thing, because I don't want to come across as being skeptical of Canada itself. But the other thing to consider here is the internal conflict of a fund guided by a crown corporation that is in the business of picking winners and losers in its own country. You remember that map of Norwegian investments? All those places their sovereign wealth fund has assets. You know one place on this planet Norway explicitly won't invest in? This cute little bendy guitar-shaped country, aka Norway. For these funds to succeed, what experts say you need is an almost ruthless insulation from the short-sighted nature of domestic politics. Because if I'm running this fund and my decision on which project to back is swayed by whose riding it's in or how many jobs it creates, then maybe I'm at risk of missing the point.
He wants to put another $25 billion on the national credit card to gamble on a Liberal slush fund that will enrich Liberal insiders at the expense of hardworking Canadians.
I think many people see this as largely a continuation of the Trudeau-era Canada Investment Bank 1.0 strategy with some minor tweaks. What I think needs to happen for this project to be more successful than the first attempt at an infrastructure bank is that it needs to have a very strong governance. It needs to have transparent, objective criteria for allocating investments.
So there it is again, that feeling of, well, let's wait until we have all the facts. That's fair, we should. But the facts so far have invited a lot of doubt.
Now, last month, Ottawa announced it will host the first ever Canada Investment Summit in Toronto in the fall. It says the focus is attracting $1 trillion in new capital. Coming up, Northern Ontario is underwater, but this year's wildfire threat might not be extinguished. Why the rapid runoff could leave fire fuel behind. Spring temperatures have triggered record-breaking snowmelt in parts of Ontario. We'll dig into the science behind why lots of water now might not provide the wildfire relief you'd expect. Johanna Wagstaff shows why spring temperatures might be creating dual threat conditions for flooding and wildfires.
Northern Ontario is underwater. We're in the middle of a record-breaking spring melt that has already pushed at least 8 municipalities into states of emergency. Roads are washed out and entire communities are on high alert. If you're looking at these floods thinking, at least this means the fire season might not be as bad this year, I have some bad news. We could be looking at the worst of both worlds. Here's why. You'd think all this water would act to saturate the grounds, protecting forests against fire down the road. It's been a big snow year for Northern Ontario, with snowfall hitting 130 to 150% of the normal averages in places like Kenora and North Bay. That's over 500 centimeters of accumulation for some regions. But with such an intense freeze-thaw cycle, the ground in the north is still partially frozen, so it's acting like concrete instead of a sponge. The ground is not soaking up that moisture for the summer, it's just sliding right off the surface, hitting the Sturgeon and Upper Ottawa watersheds and causing historic flooding. All that firefighting water is just flowing into the Great Lakes and not into the soil where we actually need it. There is some good news though. This flooding might mean at least a slower start to the fire season. The lingering snow and the surface mud will give us a buffer. But once we get into June through August, underneath this temporary flooding, a long-term drought is still parked over Northern Ontario and Manitoba. Fire scientists are watching for a rapid flip. If the summer heat hits early, all this surface water evaporates in a week, and we're left with the same bone-dry tinder we had during last year's record-breaking season. This year is a real litmus test for Canada. We're about to find out if we've reached a point where a bad fire year is just the baseline, regardless of how much it floods in April. So while the north is currently fighting off rising rivers and ice jams, all eyes are on what's left behind when the water recedes.
And according to data from the Canadian Wildland Fire Information System, there are currently 51 active fires across Canada. 3 are out of control. Next, 100 Italian chefs worked together to break a world record.
The only thing that was screaming was like, crema, coffee, crema.
How they made a giant tiramisu. That's next in our moment. You're looking at Guy Fishman standing in front of a record-breaking dessert. He says making it with dozens of chefs was like an Italian boot camp. After 2 days of non-stop piping and layering, the team finally finished their massive sweet treat. And tonight, their tiramisu makes our moment.
We hand you a certificate for your Guinness World Records title, and we say you are officially amazing.
The previous record was 273 meters long, and our aim was to beat it and do 300 meters. But in the end, we ended up getting 440. It was a group of about 100 pastry chefs, most of them Italian, but there were a few non-Italians such as myself, and we had people from all over the world help.
Few of them just left because it was so intense. We wanted to dedicate the tiramisu to the royal family and to United Kingdom to say thank you for having us in the country. The only thing they were screaming was like, crema, coffee, crema.
We've slept 4 hours maybe the last 3 days, but I have to say it is the perfect dessert to have very little CPAP. We're still just on a complete buzz from the adrenaline, from the caffeine.
The only thing I can hear is crema, coffee, crema. I'm still dreaming of tiramisu.
Now, if you're wondering, that recipe called for a mere 19,000 eggs, about 400 kilograms of sugar, and 128,000 ladyfingers. They sold tickets for people to eat the tiramisu afterwards, and all the proceeds went to charity. So everybody wins. From all of us at The National, thank you for being with us. I'm Erica Johnson in Vancouver. Take care.